let me tell you something.
Yes.
Before, the thing is that they want to do affordable housing,
Yeah.
but only the rich people are getting the affordable housing. Who can make 200,000? They're getting the. So what do they mean? What do they refer to as affordable? What is affordable?
Yeah.
In New York, you follow my point? They don't have no affordable housing in New York City. Stop lying.
No, like our lives are on the line here.
There's just too many people in New York. I don't know.
How are we failing so miserably? This is our responsibility.
And if I was to pay market rent, I don't know how I would be able to basically survive.
If it goes one way, he'll bribe the mayor, and if it goes the other way, he'll bribe the city council and still get what. So does this really matter?
New York City's housing crisis has been at the center of the mayoral race. This November, New Yorkers will choose who will lead the city for the next 4 years. But they will also vote on 3 crucial ballot measures that will change how the city builds housing for decades to come. These proposals, numbers 2, 3, and 4 on the ballot, aim to make it faster and easier to build affordable housing.
If approved, Question 2 would create a fast track for 100% affordable projects citywide and for mixed income projects in the neighborhoods that have produced the least amount of affordable housing in recent years.
Question 3 would expedite the review of certain housing projects that involve small zoning changes or are on city-owned land.
Question 4 would create an affordable housing appeals board made up of the mayor, borough president, and city council speaker that could override city council's rejections of affordable housing projects.
Let's take a step back. Why is all of this being proposed?
New York City builds fewer housing units per person than any other major American city. This failure to keep up with ever-increasing demand has driven up rents citywide.
Some housing advocates blame the Uniform Land Use Review process, or ULURP, which can take up to 7 months. Currently, the local council member has the last say, giving them the power to block or request changes to projects. All 3 ballot measures would take this veto power away.
Some housing experts believe the solution is to make it easier to build new housing in order to better align the city's supply with its demand.
But other advocates are worried that these changes will take away community power, allowing developers to steamroll forward without taking local perspectives into account. So, we sat down with housing experts and a local council member to better understand these proposals.
We also talked to voters here on the Upper West Side
and here in Bay Ridge, 2 neighborhoods that produce the lowest number of affordable housing units in the city. And so we're just trying to talk to people about their thoughts about affordable housing.
Okay,
and
so
issues.
here's my thought. I think we need more affordable housing. I think we need less Trump Towers like on Riverside South, where they didn't build a school and they didn't build enough for the children. And I think people are getting priced out, and it's not right. But I wouldn't give that up for schools and parks. So he built a park. Who the fuck needed a park? We had a park. We didn't have a school.
Yeah.
And the school is already overcrowded. And they built like 6 enormous buildings. So fuck that.
And some people say worry about displacement. Is that something that you think about a lot when you're
Displacement. When I do see new buildings coming in my neighborhood, I'm not gonna lie, I do get a little nervous because I'm thinking damn, there's gonna be new people in my neighborhood, the prices are gonna go up, and the aura of the community is gonna change. So I can't say that, I'm concerned about that, afraid about that. That's something I do think about all the time, actually. I have conversations with my friends, past people like grandmother and stuff like that who lived in the neighborhoods for so long, and when we do have these new nice apartment buildings, they say some of them are supposed to be affordable apartments, but that's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. And then we have people come in the neighborhood, I know they mean well, but they come, they complain, and they change the essence of New York City. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want to take it, left field, but yeah.
And specifically the ballot measures, and I can read them out to you if you want to review.
So the one that's coming to mind right away was the issue of taking power away from the local I don't even remember, council people, taking power away from council people around decision making and putting it more in the hands of a mayor. And I definitely I did vote against doing that. I definitely filled out my ballot and said I don't think that's a good idea. I think that is a situation where the hyper-local is worth listening to. And I think that are in a time when we're definitely experiencing that centralization of power is dangerous. It also can be appealing because so much can get done so quickly, but we also know so much can get undone so quickly. Mm-hmm. So I would say that looking at just one individual who runs based on one set of values to be the one who decides what happens in a local area is problematic. That said, we have a lot of NIMBY stuff going on that I wish wasn't.
Yeah.
So one, the mayor controls, right? And the other, if you vote one way, the mayor has more control. And if you vote the other way, the city council has more control. And I really don't trust either of them. So who do you vote for? Who is the better one? So that means the person who wants to build, if it goes one way, he'll bribe the mayor. And if it goes the other way, he'll bribe the city council and still get what. So does this really matter? Most communities, or a lot of communities, they don't want more people, right? So if they get the right, maybe the mayor will do it a little better, but if they get the right people, telling the mayor, we're not going to vote for you, you're going to lose, and he believes it, it's a very tough situation.
The ability for the next mayor to take whatever the mayor does and say, okay, we're going to put a limit on how long that needs to be affordable. Now there are going to be condos for whoever. And that one mayor can take all of it away immediately.
Yeah, so you're scared maybe if Mamdani wins and he pushes for affordable housing here, but the next mayor will use that power to shut it down anywhere?
Exactly.
Okay.
I want to add something to that. I see it a little bit differently in that I think the biggest problem is corruption and the real estate, the power that's in the hands of real estate developers, and that I think that I have to be honest with you, I haven't voted yet, though I will vote early, and I haven't really given enough time to the ballot measures. Are you being stung by a bee? By an Upper West Side bee?
No, I'm just not a fan.
We're early childhood educators.
We'll take care of you. I think that I am very much a supporter of Mamdani, and I believe that I think addressing the corruption is the thing more than anything else. And I don't know the path to addressing the corruption, but I feel that New Yorkers are just sick of it. We're sick of feeling like we can't. They'll promise that they're going to do this, and then there'll be some huge new development, and oh my gosh, there is no this. How did that happen? And I just think we have to get everybody involved in a kind of activism. I think this is true nationally and locally, that looks different than it's looked before. It's not just like, here's $25, thank you for doing this effort. It's no, our lives are on the line here, and I think the housing situation in New York is right up there of the things that have to be addressed.
I agree. Listen, if they're going to open a lot of affordable housing for families in any neighborhood, it must come with a school. It must come with
health,
parking.
Health
it needs to come with all of these other things.
Right.
And when it doesn't, I feel we know what it's really intended for. Later, it's going to be something else.
Right.
And I hate to be that cynical. But I hate to be.
Yeah.
And maybe the best thing is that for 15 years, families would have affordable housing, and I should be quiet because at least it would happen for 15 years.
Could you give us a quick background of who you are, your role, organization, and then your organization's position on these ballot measures?
Sure. I'm Andrew Fine. I'm the Chief of Staff and Policy Director at Open New York. We're a grassroots nonprofit advocacy organization that fights for more housing in New York City and across the state. And so we're, of course, really behind and supportive of the ballot questions that are currently in front of voters in New York City.
From your perspective, what would those 3 ballot proposals change about the way housing development works in the city right now?
Yeah, it would really just grease the wheels and make it a lot easier for projects that are currently not allowed to go through the process. What questions 2 and 4 are really trying to unlock is bigger opportunities in neighborhoods that have been seen as off limits over the past 50 years, basically. And that's because the local council members have said no to housing. And what these do is they say, we think more parts of the city should grow. And hey, landowners, property owners, you thought that a rezoning was impossible, so you didn't even propose anything. Why would you spend millions of dollars planning out a development if you knew your local council member was going to say no and that there was no other way of getting it approved? What this does is be like, well, maybe I could do something with my lot that's a crappy one-story building. This corner, my building's dilapidated, but I've rented it out, as a studio of some sort, a car mechanic for years, and I make a little money, but I'm not going to get anything else approved, so it's fine.
But we've also heard concerns about, infrastructure, schools, parks that need to be added as a result. So, what would your response be to those people?
Yeah, my response would be that slowing down housing development does not solve those issues, right? Like, what solves those issues is good planning. We don't have to negotiate that project by project. And why we have such a housing shortage is because we do that project by project, which is so inefficient. And what we need to do is do some of these wider rezonings and wider planning like City of Yes was, so that we can grow across the city thoughtfully and not just everyone negotiating or sort of irrationally by neighborhood. This is not about towers on the waterfront. This is about the small apartment building in Maspeth, in Bay Ridge, in Midwood, in places that are exactly where we have not been building new housing. And so all the pressure basically from the Bloomberg rezonings have been put into towers on the waterfront or in downtown Brooklyn, because that's where they upzoned and really focused on allowing new towers. And that's what everyone thinks of the past 20 years. We used to build much more widely across the city in much more like 4 to 6 story buildings. And those are just cheaper to build. They can be affordable, in terms of like cheap, even without government subsidies. And we just basically said, we're going to block those from now on.
The chance that there's going to be affordable housing on the Upper West Side anytime soon strikes me as quixotic. I don't think it will happen. If it could, I would be very, very excited. I would vote for it, but the idea that a mayor is going to make it happen, frankly, that we're going to have somebody who is utterly free of being influenced by the very wealthy, I don't see it. I wish I saw it. If I thought it would happen, I would vote for it. But because I don't really think it will happen, and again, I apologize for my cynicism at this point, but since I don't think it will happen, I focus on the idea of one person having too much power.
To start, could you just give us a background of who you are, your role, and of the district that you represent?
Yeah, so my name is Sandy Nurse. I'm a council member to the 37th district in the New York City Council, and that is in Brooklyn in the northeast part. And the neighborhoods I represent are most of Bushwick, some of Brownsville, Cypress Hills, parts of East New York, and City Line.
So from your perspective, if passed, what would those ballot proposals change about the way housing development and review works in the city currently?
The biggest change is that this removes the council's power to lock in certain things that we lock in as part of our negotiating power in the land use process. So, for example, fast tracking affordable housing on public land, great. We love that idea. However, we wanted to build in some guardrails on that, because what the public doesn't know is that the council gets presented a lot of projects on public land by our city agency that does housing, but generally they are just not quite good enough for the communities, and they need 9 times out of 10 need just a little bit more shaping to actually be um, accessible to our community. And what that looks like is the council member of a district gets to negotiate for the rent levels of these units that is a little bit more tailored to the reality of the community district versus the reality of the entire city, right? Um, and we may be able to negotiate different types of unit sizes. So often the city agency will present a project that is mostly studios, one bedrooms, and some two bedrooms. We often have to fight really hard to get three bedrooms in there for a district like mine that has um, South Asian, Latinos, and Black folks. Like we live in multi-generational households, and so two bedrooms does not cut it to get families that are crammed into um, old railroads into these new units. And so we lose that power. So what I see is happening is a lot of projects are going to be built quickly that are not necessarily the most helpful for the types of housing that folks need. So you'll see a lot of one bedrooms, a few two bedrooms, and a bunch of studios is what you're going to see. And the rents will not be specific to the community district. They will not be forced to be specific to the community district. And so, I just say like you'll probably see a lot of studios that are like 400 and something square feet, maybe 425 square feet, going for starting rate $3,000, which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
They're claiming you can apply through Housing Connect. New York City HPD Housing Connect, you can apply for these affordable apartments. However, there is a bracket. So if you're making a certain amount, you cannot get an apartment because you have to make certain amount. And what they put you through to apply for these apartments, it's like you're not going to get it because half of the people who need these apartments can't get these things they're asking for, and first of all they don't make that kind of money so that they can apply for these housing. So Housing Connect, I think it's all a fake. It doesn't help people. Yeah. Tell me someone who got an affordable apartment. When they say they got it, what's affordable? What is affordable? Nothing is affordable in New York City anymore.
And is that because they are acting on like the mayor's agenda, or is that them trying to hit unit counts? I mean, sort of structurally, what do you think?
I think it's like they want to, their goal is to, to produce as many units as possible because they're looking at production numbers, like how many units did we bring online this year? How many projects did we get off the ground this year? And what I try to say is that build doesn't mean anything if we're not making stuff that people can actually live in, enjoy living in, and afford.
Can you give us a quick background of yourself, your role, your organization, and your organization's position on the ballot measures?
Yeah, sounds great. And thanks for talking with me. So my name is Chris Walters. I'm the Senior Land Use Policy Associate at ANHD. ANHD is the Association for Neighborhood and Housing Development. And we're a member org with a mission to to build community power, to win affordable housing and thriving, equitable neighborhoods for all New Yorkers. We've always said we need more affordable supply, right? So we agree that there's a need for supply, but we want as much of that supply to be rent regulated, affordable housing as possible, as one, way to address one part of a larger strategy to address the affordable housing crisis. And then we also see question two is getting at not just increasing the supply of affordable housing, but leading to a more equitable distribution of where that affordable housing is built in the city. We see really uneven development today in terms of what neighborhoods, are developing new affordable housing and what neighborhoods are able to say no and essentially build very little to none. If a district that has built a lot of affordable housing, if they are pushing back against an MAH development because they want deeper affordability or they feel like it is not, responsive to, to the district and some of its needs. That's very different than, a community district, council district that has built a nothing, and again is saying no because, we don't want affordable housing. There's very often a racial economic bias to that, right? We don't want the community that affordable housing brings in. That's not what our neighborhood is about.
I wanted to ask, like, sort of what you see as the, I guess, the merits of these projects, because you kind of talked about the value of two and sort of the concerns that people would have with this in general. But sort of, what are the merits of question 3 and 4? And what are the concerns that you're hearing about them?
Yeah, so with proposal 3 is about allowing, what the commission is calling sort of modest increases in housing, to also go through this faster track. So a track that ultimately wouldn't have city council voting to approve or disapprove or modify. And what that would look like is a little different in different districts. In medium to high density districts, so you can sort of think of, 4-story apartment buildings and then up to, very tall towers. It would essentially be if a proposal is increasing density by 30%, they would not go through ULURP. They would go through this faster track. And then in lower density districts, it would be building up to 4 stories, up to 45 feet would go through this faster track. The idea with these is that these are sort of the types of smaller increases in housing that would require zoning changes that most developers just don't do today because it's too much work to go through ULURP, to go through these zoning changes in this process for a small increase in housing. So this is, to my mind, more just supply side sort of argument and saying, this is a way to get a little more housing in more neighborhoods, housing that isn't too far off from the existing housing stock, the existing neighborhood character, but that we really don't see getting built today. And then for ballot question 4, I would say this is the most controversial, or I would say the ballot proposal that especially the city council is most opposed to. And this would create an affordable housing appeals board, that when something goes through ULURP, the council, has the opportunity to approve, to disapprove, or to approve with modifications. If they were to disapprove or approve with modifications, and the applicant wanted to appeal that decision, it would go to an appeals board made up of the mayor, the speaker of the city council, and the local borough president, where this proposal, where the development is being proposed. And that appeals board, by a vote of 2 to 1, so if 2 folks, were on the same side, they could they could override the council's disapproval, or they could undo any specific modifications that the city council made. So, I think that the council sees this as the proposal that sort of most infringes on their power, because it essentially includes all proposals that include affordable housing. It's not as targeted as, again, question 2, which is around 100% affordable or just these certain districts, or question 3, which is around sort of smaller increases in density.
Well, we'll be excited to see how these things play out, and we're really grateful for you joining us and getting into the details.
Excuse me, guys. Do you guys have a minute? Yeah, sure. We're doing a video story about the ballot proposals. Is there any chance that we can interview you guys?
I don't know anything about them, to be honest. I'm California. It goes back and forth between New York and California and Brooklynite, though. So I can't even speak to it.
Okay.
Sorry.